Okay, guys, welcome back. So let's just start just eliciting some of these ideas. I'd like to start because I like the question. Okay. So the question was, remember, just to, I mean, it was not a question actually, but it was all about talking about this team you like. It could be football, which is somehow the most popular sport here, but it could be any other team from any other sport and why you like it. Okay. So in my case, guys, as I've told you, I was born and raised here in Bogota, but my family from the side of my mother, it's from Tolima. So since I was a very little child, and my family from the side of my father is from Cartago in the north of Valle del Cauca. So that's sort of the influence I had since I was a little kid. So the influence that I had from the side of my father was more into the direction of América de Cali because they like it a lot back then. They are not big fans of football, but I like it, and that was the first time I sort of liked. But I never had a T-shirt or something, like a jersey of that team. Little parenthesis here. Whenever we talk about, football uniforms, guys, or uniforms of any sport, we sometimes say T-shirt, but that's not the best word to refer to it. The best option is also always jersey. Okay, so the jersey of the team. So the jersey of the Colombian team, for instance, or also they even and when you want to refer to the whole uniform, you don't call it uniform, you call it kit. Okay, so the kit of the national team, that means the whole uniform. We don't say t-shirt and uniform, but rather jersey and kit. So I never had a jersey from that team. But then when the Portes Tolima was champion for the very first time, it was something very shocking to me in a positive sense. And it was because my family was super crazy and they were so happy. And somehow that had an impact on me just to see how a football team could make people feel that way. And especially in the case of this team, since this is a regional team, so it was very interesting to me to see how just a football team could be linked to the identity of people, you see, and that's somehow what I like the most. Just the fact of seeing how that the identity would be reflected in the in the team, and how whatever the team would do would be an excuse for my family to express their love and pride for their hometown. So I really like that, and I said like, okay, this is going to be my team. And I was I was like, I don't know, like 12 or 13 years old when I decided to become fan of Deportes Tolima. And now I'm the craziest of all the fans in my family. So that was my story. There you go. So guys, who wants to share something about it, about why, I mean, which team you like and why you like it? Anybody? I really like to listen to this because once again, it's not just about football or it's not just about sports. It's also about this thing with identity and everything. Felipe, please.
Well, teacher, as I told you, well, I think that you know or you don't know. I don't know. I am a big fan of Millonarios. Well,
Uh-huh.
it started like in 2010 when I was a little child,
Mm-hmm.
and it was for my father. My father and my grandfather
Mm-hmm.
were like a really big fans.
Mm-hmm.
They were every day to the stadium. It was something good. So I started saying like, okay, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to support Millonarios because it was it's the best in Colombia, by the way.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I started going to the stadium
Mhm.
and that feeling, well, I remember the first time that I went, that feeling when you enter and you see all the stadium and all the professional players. It's something that I got in love with that. And
Mhm,
well, I
mhm,
started going. And and yeah, well, nowadays, well, as we can see, everything is just for a bet. So
mhm,
I started like losing that love for football here in Colombia, and not here in
mhm.
Colombia, but around the world, because all is related to bet. So
Yeah,
it's like a mafia. How to say like mafia?
mafia, just like that.
Yes, it's like the football mafia,
Yep, that is
and
true.
it doesn't make any sense. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I still support some teams. I like football, but not like it used to be like before.
I
So
totally
yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Thank you very much, Felipe. Maria Alejandra, please.
Yeah, I like see football, but only like the big teams, like
Mhm,
Colombian team,
mhm,
because that I mean is more interesting for me. But I also love see tennis and
uh-huh,
like no teams because in tennis there are no teams. But I enjoy see like players like Roger Federer or
mhm,
Djokovic or maybe doubles.
mhm.
So it's funny to see.
That's Leha, that's interesting because it's like when we talk about teams, the thing of identity is super connected. But I hadn't thought about that. All those sports which are individual, it's different. It's not perhaps a matter of identity, but how do you relate to that individual and the capacity he or she has to perform in a sport. That's also very interesting. I like it. I like you. I like the fact that you mentioned that because that's also an interesting part of this. Nice. Yeah, Valeria, please.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of football actually. I don't
Mhm,
like it. But it came to my mind that one team that I will pay for see the
mhm,
performance is a taekwondo team that is called K Tigers.
mhm,
They're from Korea. They are really great. They're not only like into like fighting and that kind of
mhm.
stuff of taekwondo, but they perform with music. Video performance with music, so it's really cool.
That's also interesting. And once again, thank you for mentioning that because that's another dimension of this that we haven't seen. And that's how sport and arts are somehow connected, you see, and there are sports in which arts are essential. And I mean, there are cases in which sports are and arts are directly connected. And if you guys have had the chance to watch the Olympics, there are several disciplines that have that connection, and that's also interesting. You see, volleyball. I love volleyball. I really, really like that sport. In my life, I have only played two sports basically, and that's been football and volleyball, and I love it. It's really cool. It's super, super fun. Um, so there you go, guys. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's really nice to see this. You see, because there are so many different things that go around sports themselves, and and there are so many different things we can say. So there is this social, political, economical dimension that at the beginning Felipe mentioned, which is something that I totally agree makes it a little bit harder to follow a football team perhaps because you know that these things with bets it's always there, so you don't know exactly if the sport is something you can trust, let's say, because what's the point of watching a match if you know that it could be severely influenced by betting, right? So that makes no sense. In my case, for instance, I love always supporting the underdogs. You know what underdog is, guys? This word, look at this, the underdog. You know what the underdog means in the context of sports? I mean, in general, it means pretty much the same, but especially in the context of of sports. For instance, I remember, I think it was, I don't remember exactly the date, but it was perhaps like 8 or 10 years ago. There was a final in the Colombian football, and it was Atlético Nacional versus Atlético Huila. So in this case, Nacional was the favorite, and they were the champions, by the way, and Huila were the underdogs. You see, the underdogs. And then when the times Tolima has been the champion 3 times, and Tolima has always been the underdog at the end of the day because they have won the championship against big teams. First Cali, then Nacional, and then yes, Felipe Millonarios. So Tolima were the underdogs. So do you understand what's the meaning of underdog in that context?
Yes, teacher. It's like the always that goes in the second place.
No, not really.
Like the losers or something?
Not really. Not because they can win. You see, the underdogs can win. Yes, John, it's something like that, like humble, but not exactly humble. But we could say just the least favorites. So it's like the opposite to the favorites or to the strong team, basically. So it's like in Spanish we use this figure of David contra Goliath, right? So David, from that story from the Bible, David would have been the underdog, you see, because he was not the favorite to win the fight, right? So that's pretty much it. So the underdog would be, I don't know, I don't find an actual word in Spanish, like one single word to describe that. But yeah, basically the underdog is the one which is not the favorite. So that there you go. Give me just one second, guys, please. I'm sorry, guys. So yes, underdog could be like oh, it's so hard to translate, because actually I'm actually doing that, and if you Google that, you will find lots of meanings. But we could say that it's just like it could mean underestimated, or not favorite. It's exactly the opposite to give me a second. Like it's exactly the opposite to favorite. Okay. Also, there is another word which is a little bit more standard. This word underdog is a little bit informal, but it's okay. It's not a bad word, by the way. There is this other word, belittled. Belittled means literally menospreciado, you see? So it's almost like a synonym. But in the context of sports or competitions, that is the best word to use. So if it's a match, I don't know, like you know, like Djokovic versus Cabal, you see? Cabal is super good, but still he would be the underdog in that kind of match, you see? Or any other match. So it's if it's a I don't know, taekwondo match, and it's a Korean team against Mexican. So the Mexicans would be the underdogs because they are not the favorites, you see? So that's it. So there you go, guys. That was quite a nice introduction. So as you can see, let me just share my screen. These are the two goals we have, guys, as you can see here. So it's all about teams and talking about that. So we're gonna have two goals with this lesson. First of all, we're gonna have a look at the use of articles, which it's somehow connected to what we did in the previous session regarding how there are some topics that we consider obvious, but at the end of the day, they are not. So that's part of what we're gonna do. And also regarding language itself, we're gonna talk about success and failure, okay? So look at this photograph, guys. This is fans from the Swedish football team, as I can say. So those of you who like sports, and especially football, and especially teams which are underdogs like mine, we have felt like this several times, right? So how would you describe the way these people are feeling, guys? What words would you use to describe these people's feelings? I think their football team has just lost the match and they're not very happy. But what kind of vocabulary would you use to describe how they are feeling? What would you say?
They are disappointed.
Disappointed. That's quite a very good word. Let me just put it over here. Disappointed. That could be one word. What else can we say about this, guys? They're
Frustrated.
Teacher,
frustrated and yeah.
maybe anxious.
Frustrated. It could be anxious. I mean, we don't know exactly the result of the match. It could have been that they are about to go to a penalty kick round and they say like, seriously, we were winning the match and then we've got penalties. Then they might feel like a little bit like this. It could be. So
Or
we've
they
got
are seeing how Zlatan Ibrahimovic get like how to say lesionado,
injured like this.
get injured maybe.
Oh, there you go. I mean, they got this amazing star in their team, and he just got injured. For instance, Zlatan, he just got injured. So they say, seriously, we've got just Zlatan and 10 random players more, and then Zlatan gets injured. That's really sad. Something like that. Isn't like they got random players, of course, but anyways, injured. Anxious, frustrated, disappointed. What else can we say about the feelings of these guys? Let me think.
Like they are worried about it.
Worried, yeah. I just
Something?
remember worried. I just remember this other word. Look at this. Downhearted. Downhearted is like when you are. It's perhaps similar to. It's like sad at the end of the day, but not exactly sad. But it's like when you don't feel like energy for doing anything. So you see something, and that something looks so bad and hard and everything that you feel like, oh, there's nothing to do. So they feel downhearted or hopeless. It's almost like a synonym, actually. So downhearted or or hopeless would be pretty much the same. So you go like, I'm hopeless. There's nothing we can do. Or if you feel downhearted, it means like, you see, you've got no hope also. So those could be some of feelings. Now, guys, and I like you to be super honest. Have you ever cried over any sort of a sports event, like because your team won or lost? I don't
I
know.
think because of happiness, but not of any football team or something. I think that for me, the most interesting sports or games or something like that are the Olympics, and see those people fighting alone by themselves without any
Mhm.
support of any team or
I
government,
know, I
or
know.
the really people who really are fighting to be there for me when
I
they won
know.
any of those medals, the bronze, the silver or gold medal, for me it's like, oh my gosh,
I get
that
it.
really inspired me to believe in my dreams, to believe in themselves, and to go for your dreams but fight for them. So that feeling of emotion, happiness when you see people who really fights for those dreams, I think that made me cry.
Absolutely. And you know what? When you see something like that, a word that you can use is this. Just you can see that is very moving, to say that that's something that makes you feel like that, you see. So it's very moving to see that. I get it. I absolutely get it. And that's why I said that's something special that happens with individual sports. When you don't see teams but just one person doing something amazing, I totally get it. That's super, super moving. Thank you, Diego. Felipe, please.
Well, the year I didn't, well, I haven't cried for especially for a team, well, just for a team, but no was for winning or for something like that. But I remember that was like some years ago in 2016 when the Chapecoense team, the
Wow.
they
Yeah.
fell down.
Yes.
And well, I especially cried also because it was on my birthday. I thought that my birthday has something like bad because
Yeah.
was the death of Paul Walker and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Chapecoense. So it's something like bad. But
You
yeah,
were like, it's my fault, right? Something like that.
yeah, I felt in that time like that, but yeah, was so
Uh-huh.
sad for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. Yeah. So there are very in once there you see, it's like it's like it's moving, uh, for things like what Diego said, but also, as Felipe has shared with us, which are these other things which are linked to the sport, but it's not necessarily a match, for instance. So for example, also remember that case of Chapecoense. There was once I watched a video in which a person said, because they played against an Argentinian football team before the final, so they once said in this video, they showed an image of like the last attack of the Argentinian team, and they said, if this guy, the guy from the Argentinian team, had scored, they would have won the match, and Chapecoense wouldn't have died. You see? So it's just like their life, and it's like they didn't score. Chapecoense won, and they were celebrating. But when you see those images in that context, from that perspective, when you see all this group of people celebrating, but without I mean, of course, without knowing that they would die. Wow, you see, it's so powerful, and that's very, very moving. When you see these emotions and situations a little bit out of context, it's very crazy. So yeah. Maria Alejandra says, of course, when England kick us out from the World Cup, the Worldwide Cup, no, the World Cup. I didn't cry. That was very disappointing, but yeah, that totally sucked. I mean, that was like seriously. Although that team, dude, that it was like that could have happened. Um, I must admit that I've cried a couple of times, and it's like, you know what? It's like I love football. I mean, I like to watch Colombian team as well. The thing is that I have several teams. I mean, in Colombia, just one, but I also love Galatasaray from Turkey. That's a team that I like since 2000, since the year 2000, because my favorite football player ever has been so far Mondragon. I mean, now he's like, dude, don't talk, please. But when he was a football team player, I really like him. And he went to go there in Galatasaray. So I got to know about that team. And as you know, I love Turkish culture. I just fell in love with the team, and I've been following the team since then. And I also like Monterrey, because as Rayados de Monterrey, because as I told you, I started in Tec de Monterrey, and for most of the story of this team, Rayados, they played in the stadium of the University of the Tecnológico de Monterrey. So they were associated to the university. So I got to know about the team, and I like it, and I follow it since like 4 or 5 years ago. But once again, my point is that teams are associated with identity necessarily, you see. So there are cases in which you, like a football team loses, or a person loses, I mean a sports person loses, and then it's like, it's sad, but it's not that connected to your own identity, you see. So in my case, for instance, that's what happens with Tolima, because that's my family at the end of the day. That's my connection with my family, and we like to watch the matches together, and so that's why it's so strong, you know, because it's this association with your own roots. And yeah, I cried a couple of times, but anyways, not a big deal. Okay, guys, so this is what we're gonna do now. We are going just to read this blog about why people support teams. So it's like they say, what does the research say about people who support teams? We are going to focus on that. So I'll give you some minutes for you guys to read individually this blog that we've got here on the left hand of your page, let's say. So we're gonna read this, and that's it. That's basically what we're gonna do. I'll give you around, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes just to read this. And if you find any vocabulary you don't know, we can have a look at it. Okay, guys? So you guys have 4 minutes just to read this article, please. Okay, guys. So let's see. So in general terms, guys, what is this? Oh, give me a second. What is this article about, guys? I'd like you to give me a very brief context on it. So what about what the article actually is? And then we're gonna check a couple of words more that we need to double check, basically. Okay, guys, so what is this article about? What do they say here, basically? How can we just summarize what the article is about? So that is true. It's about why people support teams, but I'd like to go a little bit more in detail. So I think Valeria has raised her hand.
Yes, teacher, I was gonna say that the like ideas that are behind of why people support a team, and that this has like a connotation in psychologists.
Mhm.
So
Yep. It's essentially the psychological reasons behind why people like football teams. We could leave it like that. Yes, Miguel, please.
Yeah. Um, so is how we identify or how we have the connection or we we think that we are part of that team and identify with that team. So we support and we think that when the team win, I win, we win. So it's basically that.
That is true. There is another expression I think you need to know, guys, and which is related to what we said before, and that's how identity is important. So look at that sense of belonging. You know, the sense of belonging. That's essentially what Miguel is talking about. So when you follow a team, and especially when you wear a jersey of that team, that gives you that sense of belonging, right? Because it makes you feel that you are part of something, even if it's a team from a different country. If you've got a jersey from I don't know, uh, Manchester, Tottenham, or Real Madrid, whatever, it makes you feel like you are part of something. So that sense of belonging is also very important. Thank you guys for that comment, for those comments. Anything else, guys? Anything else you'd like to share? I mean, this is the time for you to speak. I like it when it feels like we're having a conversation here, when it's not just you answering questions. Yes, Johanna, thank you. Johanna, please.
That is crazy that a soccer player um had more money than a doctor or than a professor or something like that just for and how do you patear
Kick,
a ball,
just for kicking a ball.
kicking a ball. That I want to share.
Thank you, Johanna. And you know what? And that's also, I would say, linked to something Felipe has expressed earlier, and that has to do with bets, right? And that's why, I mean, that's the side of even those of us who like football, that's the side that we hate. And it is the fact that as it is connected to a huge industry, because it is a big industry, these things happen. So I also feel that. So last week I was thinking about it, like in the the case of James, that he went to play to this team in Qatar, and I mean they've got, I mean those teams in those countries, they have a lot of money, and it's really sad to see how there are countries, neighboring countries, which have very serious problems, but and they need support, they need help. And these people in these countries, they just invest so much on these teams. And just say like, well, this money could be spent in a different way. And at the same time, they've got the money to pay a person like James, to pay millions and millions of dollars. And he doesn't even play. He went there. And last week I was thinking about it. They said, no, he cannot play for a couple of weeks because he's got a little problem in his leg. And I said, like, I would like to be able to have that excuse for not working. You see, it's like, guys, I'm sorry, we cannot have class today because I've got this little problem on my right leg. So I don't feel like walking very much. I know that I've been sitting the whole day, but I don't like it. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. You see, I mean, people cannot do that. Normal people cannot do that. Even if they are almost dying, they have to continue working. But these guys, they just earn millions and millions. And or like Falcao in Galatasaray, by the way, he went there and he was just like Mimiro most of the time. So it's like, dude, you see, that's not fair. That's really sad, actually. So I get it. I totally get it. Anything else, guys, that you'd like to mention here, perhaps? Nothing? Okay, so well, basically, what they say here, well, there's a comment. There you go. I totally get it, Diego. Yes, I totally get it. It doesn't deserve that much of attention. And you know what? Talking also about those things that I hate. And once again, the industry. And now that you use the word attention, Diego, that word is also key, because you say, okay, the football players, they earn millions and millions playing. Okay, and I get what's the point there, because they are part of this industry, and if they are good players, they fuel the industry, and that's why they get money. Okay, I get it. But what happens with the media, for instance, the media around the sport, you see, and how there are some people who somehow assume, or they want to play this role as if they were actual experts and also like scholars of the sport. You know what a scholar is, guys? You know what a scholar is? You know what that is, guys? Let me just double check. Yep, I just misspelled that, guys. It's like this, just with one L. You know what a scholar is, guys? Don't you guys know what a scholar is?
Related to a school, I don't know.
Almost. A scholar, it's what we would call in Spanish un erudito, basically. So a scholar is an academic, but it's a person who is a real expert on a topic, you see? So scholars are that, like people who are experts, people who have studied something, people who've got a lot of experience on a topic, you see? So there are scholars in lots of different areas. You see, so to be a scholar, you need to study and work a lot, and you need to know a lot about any topic. So my point is that there are some sort of journalists who assume that they are scholars in football, and that's so stupid, you see. I don't know, I think you've seen this guy, and every time I see him, I feel like, oh my God, Carlos Antonio Vélez. Have you seen that guy?
¿Es un comentarista de fútbol o algo así?
Yeah. And the thing is that, you know, most of those people who work on that, they know what they do. They know that they are journalists or that they comment football. I mean, they know it. But this guy, he feels, or he acts as if he was like a scholar of football, you see? And you know what? Why I hate it? If you ever watch a football match that he's commenting, he always uses this unnecessary, complicated vocabulary. So he uses a very sophisticated vocabulary, which is absolutely forced. And if we think about the audience, the people who are watching the match, it's like, do you need to actually use that vocabulary? Just make it simple. I mean, it's a football match. It's not a big deal. And they come up with this super sophisticated analysis of something that doesn't deserve that level of analysis. So it's so annoying, you know, to see a person trying to force you to think that something is extremely serious and sophisticated. It's like, dude, take it easy. You see? So, and that has to do with attention. And that's something that also makes people more violent, because with their opinions and with the tendencies and what they somehow express, they can make people think certain ways, you see? And that's that at the end of the day, it could be even dangerous. So that's why I just hate that. So I just wanted to also mention that. Anyways, so guys, in general terms, oh, give me a second. I'm sorry. In general terms, what I say here in this article is that, in this case, football gives people a goal to focus on, and goals give our lives meaning. So it's all about meaning. So when people follow a football team or any team, I mean, when they are actually supporters of that, there is the sense of identity, but also this sense of goal. You see, so there is the sense that they need to that they become part of a team, and that's why you said you heard people that nosotros les ganamos. You see, say a person who follows a team to another who follows another one, and it's like you didn't win because you were not playing, you were just supporting, but it's like they become part of it. You see, so they say ganamos el partido because they are part of that, and this is the sense of belonging. Daniel says that Carlos Antonio Vélez tries to be Martin de Francisco. I don't know, they are so different, and I like Martin de Francisco. I really enjoy listening to him because he knows about football, but he knows this is not a serious thing. You see, that's what I like. I mean, and he's a very serious fan of Deportivo Cali, right? And he loves it, and he talks about it very seriously. But at the same time, you know that he knows that this is not a big deal. You see, he's not trying to be super sophisticated and specialized. So that's what I like. But this other guy, and they even call him Carlos Antonio Vélez, el doctor Carlos Antonio. And it's like, doctor of what? You say? It's like, that's why I hate him. Because it's like they really want to sell you this idea that this guy is a scholar of football, and such a thing doesn't exist. So it's like, take it easy. So well, this is what they talk about. There is some vocabulary, guys, that I wanted to double check with you. This word, guys, I've tried switching my, how did you read this? How did you say that first, and what does it mean?
That was that.
My loyalty
My question.
would be.
That was your question, Diego? Okay.
How do you pronounce it, and how?
Okay.
What does it mean?
Let's start by the pronunciation. Yes, it's allegiance, allegiance, allegiance. That is the word, allegiance. Give me double check. Yeah, allegiance, allegiance. That is the pronunciation, and the meaning. Ana Maria knows it. She said something.
Yeah, is something related to
Yeah.
loyalty.
Loyalty. Yeah. So, like, you've got an allegiance for the team that you love, or the team that you like, or you can also use, by the way, we can use allegiance to talk about anything that you support. So if you support a cause, for instance, you say, for instance, you support the cause of the rights of any community. So you say, I've got an allegiance for that, or this is my allegiance to something. It's like loyalty, or also to a religion or political party, you see? So that's allegiance. It's like the loyalty, but especially regarding any sort of team or political party or religion. That's how we could use it. Allegiance. Okay, very important piece of vocabulary. Then we have another word that I wanted to share with you. Let me see. I'm going to scan it really quick. Although every time I do this, when I'm in the middle of a class and I try to find a word, I don't find it. I just here. It all seems a bit daft. You know what daft is? That's also another important word. No? Don't you know this? Daft? No idea? There are some cases, guys, in which there are some cases, and especially within
in Spanish.
Yeah, actually, yeah. But in general terms, guys, there are some cases in which you might find in a text a word that you don't know, but you need to see the context, and the context can give you the answer. So look, they say, I've tried switching my allegiance to a different team, a more successful one, only to return after a few weeks. It all seems a bit daft. So why do we do it? So given that context, it feels like that, right? Like don't do, like, you see, silly, that would be the best synonyms. Diana, thank you. Silly would be the best synonym. So this is silly. Daft means silly, but silly to a point that it sounds almost incredible or unbelievable. You see, is like, wow, I cannot believe this. You see, I cannot believe how silly this is. That would be daft. So for instance, me watching a football match of Tolima and crying over it, that's daft. You see, it's like, why do you do that? That's daft. I mean, there might be reasons for that, yes, but still, that's daft. That's an example. And there is another word. Let me see. There's another word. Oh, this one. Discernible, guys. Discernible. Discernible. Yeah, that's how you say it. Discernible. This one, guys. Discernible. It's very similar to a word we've got in Spanish, almost the same. But I like to double check if you guys know what that means. Discernible. That you
In
guys know?
Spanish is like discernible.
Yeah.
It's not visible to be.
Discernible is like discernible. That's true. But what does it mean? Like you can see it? No, it's a little bit more than that. Basically, discernible means something that can be recognized or understood. You see, something which can be recognized or understood. We can leave it just like that. Okay, what else can we say? Is there any other word, guys, that you would like me to perhaps have a look at? Is there any other word that you say, wow, I'm having a little problem with this one? Perhaps? No. Okay, guys, so that's
With-
essential.
Yeah, with
Yep.
seemingly. I don't know what is the
Where is it? Where is it?
in the third part in the second paragraph. The
Second paragraph.
psychology of support in the third line
Yes, I just said.
when
says-
there is.
So it says, why is it
Seemingly,
important?
I don't know what is the pronunciation and
No, yes,
the-
it's seemingly. Seemingly, that's the pronunciation. That's not a big deal. But look, why is it important for one team to beat another when there is seemingly no discernible difference between them? Seem, you know what seem is, right? So seem means like look like. So for instance, that seems to be hard. That seems like a good idea. So it means that something looks like something else, like, right? So seemingly it's very almost, we could change seemingly here by apparently. It would be the same, apparently. When you say, when there is apparently no discernible difference, yeah, we could, in this case, seemingly is a synonym of apparently. So it's an adverb which express that something seems to be certain way. So seemingly and apparently would be exactly the same thing here. You could change seemingly by apparently, which in other words would mean, you know, aparentemente, al parecer. That's the sort of expression we've got there. There you go, guys. So I like also to have a look about another expression, but I've got a question to you. Look at this, guys. In the very last paragraph, they say, there is a theory advanced by the philosopher and a sports fan professor, David Papineau. So, guys, look at this part. There is a theory advanced by the philosopher. What does it mean, guys, advanced in that context? When they say advanced, how would you say
I don't
that?
know about that. It has been followed by him.
No,
He
no.
continues with the research or something.
No, not really. There we've got a comment. Carried out. Yes, Lena, that is right. That could be, although of course in past, carried out. So in this context, advanced, guys, just for you to say, advanced is a little bit more of a technical or specialized word to refer to something that is being proposed or developed by something. You can say, for instance, if we don't use passive voice, but we use it in active, we say, Professor David Papineau advanced this theory, or the professor proposed or developed a theory. Okay, so you can say that advanced as a way to describe something that's being developed by someone. Yeah, but also you can use the word advanced to refer to your career, for instance. So let's say that you guys graduate from the university and you say, wow, you know what? I want to study something related to communication. So I want to advance my career in the communication field, you see? So in that case, it's like develop, improve, you see, or like, you know, basically study in that case. So advanced can be used in those two ways to refer to something that's being proposed or developed by someone, like this person created a theory sort of thing. But also, if you want to refer to your own professional development, you can also use advanced. So it's like, especially when you want to refer to specializing. So you say like, I'm studying this master's in educational technology because I want to advance my career as a instructional designer, you see? So like you want to improve or develop in that way, in that direction. So that's another expression, guys, that I wanted you to have a look at. So guys, give me a second. So as we are here, we are just jumping to the actual topic of articles, okay? Which is right here in the exercise number 3. But before that, when we talk about articles, we know that this topic is also very interesting to say, because like, well, not exactly in the case of the articles, but you know that something that we have been discussing during the last week, and there was example with the Shakespearean lines. We said that languages are dynamic, right? Languages are living things. They are alive and they change throughout time, and there are words that are created every day. And there are even these days people that propose changes to the language itself. So we are actually in this moment living a moment of discussion regarding that. And you know that that has to do with this whole discussion of lenguaje inclusivo, for example, which some people hate, some people support, some people made fun of. I mean, there are so many different opinions. But the point here is that if you ask me about that, I personally say that that's not necessary. That's my opinion. But at the same time, I understand the reasons why those who propose changes in language propose that. You see, so I would never say, in my case, I would never say compañere, you know, like the case of this girl. I mean, this person. But I understand the motivations, and that's something we need to be careful with. The motivations why people propose these kinds of changes. And the thing is that Spanish is a language that has several features that require that, and that sometimes might feel unfair, right? So how come if we are a group, for example, of 10 people, and there are 8 women and 2 men, we still would refer to all of us as like todos nosotros, even if women are the majority? That's something people don't like, you see? In the case of English, we don't see that, you see, because English doesn't have a gender in terms of adjectives, right? And in terms of countable pronouns, or in terms of articles, for example, which is what we're gonna talk about today. So there is no gender, which makes it a little bit easier. But in the case of pronouns, it does exist. So I don't know if you guys have read about it, but as there are people who propose changes in Spanish regarding lenguaje inclusivo, there are also proposals for English in the case of articles, and that is, it's hard to understand, to be honest. I don't know if you guys have seen that before, haven't you? But the articles they propose for English to make it more inclusive.
No, teacher, I just know
That's
about the inclusive language in Spanish,
Spanish.
but nothing.
Yeah, I will not teach you that because first of all, I don't know it, to be honest, but just for you to be aware that this is also a discussion that's being carried out in English. So they say that depending on your identity, that you can choose the pronouns that you want to be referred to, you see? And that's something we understand, right? If there is I mean, there are cases in which, I mean, this is very hard to say, yes, the non-binary, yes, they, them, exactly, Diana, that's what I meant. Once again, we understand the motivation. And once again, if we talk about how language, it's living and it answers to the needs of people, well, it should adapt, but it's hard, you see, it's something very complex. Good news is, and I've said all of this just to show you that in the case of articles, we don't have that discussion. So this discussion doesn't go there. But there is a point in which you might be facing that, and it's that discussion on what pronouns we should use to refer to certain people. But that's a whole different topic. So regarding articles, guys, the articles in English are actually very easy if we compare them to the articles in Spanish, because you know that in Spanish we've got singular and plural, but also we've got genders, and that's something that makes it way more complex. But in English, we don't. We basically have 3 articles, right, in English, and that's the, which is the plural form for everything. And then we have a and an, which is a little variation of the first one. So we essentially have 2 articles, and one of them has a variation, and that's essentially it. So regarding the form of the articles, I think we understand, right? A boy, the boy, right? An airplane, right? So we use an when the next word starts with a vowel sound. Vowel sound, no, not just vowel, but vowel sound. And it's vowel sound, but when it's not a diphthong, so it's complex. So for instance, if you say, let me think. I don't have a word in my head in this moment that starts with the A sound. A. Well, I'll think about it, but I'll show you then. So guys, apart from the forms, it's the basic rules. So we know that we use articles to talk about people or things in general. In this case, no, we use no article, but we use an article or determiner with a single or countable noun. We use a and n when you mention something for the first time. We use the when you mention the same thing the second and following times, and use the when both the speaker and listener know which thing is meant. In this case, guys, something which is very, very important to understand is what we call in English given versus no information. Look, we just put it like this here. I'm gonna put it on the chat box. Given versus no information. So it could be about it could be a text, or it could be in speech. We talk about no information every time we mention something for the first time. You see, if you're having a conversation, or if you are writing a text and you mention something for the first time, in those cases we use a as an article. But if it's something that we already talked about before, that's what we call given information. And in this case, you can use the, and that's something we'll see later. Okay. So those are the key rules, these 5 that we've got here. But there are also some extended rules, some other additional cases in which, yes, Diana, please.
Yeah, teacher, I don't understand the difference between given and new information. Could you repeat again, please?
Absolutely, yes. So whenever you're talking about, and it's not just talking, also in the case of texts. So for example, let me see. For example, if I say, so yeah, yesterday, I was walking down the street with my girlfriend, and we saw a boy playing alone. Okay, that's the first part. I was walking with my girlfriend and we saw a boy playing alone. A boy, right? Then I continue talking. So we didn't understand why he was alone. But suddenly we saw that the boy started talking to another boy. to a girl, let's call it like that. So it's not ambiguous. You see the difference? In the first part, I said, we saw a boy playing alone. And in the second part, we said, and then we saw that the boy, what is the difference? First, we use a because I'm talking about the boy for the first time. So in the first part of my super short story, boy is new information because you don't know about the boy. I'm just talking about that for the first time. But then as I continue talking, I said, so the boy started talking to a girl. I could use in that case the, because boy in that case is given information. You already have context. If I say the boy, and if I say which boy, well, the boy that we saw on the street, you see? So given information is the information that you already gave to the other person. So it's like he or she already has contact. And new information is everything that you mentioned for the first time. You see? That's essentially it. So I don't know if it's a little bit more clear.
Thank you, teacher.
And that happens also in texts, okay? Because for instance, when you are writing a text, when you know exactly what information is given, as you continue talking, you can use shorter forms to refer to that. You see? So that's also important. So that could be it. No information is everything that you mentioned for the first time. It could be either talking or in a text, and given information is something that the other person already knows because you mentioned that before. We could leave it like that, okay? So we also must see that we use articles to talk in general about one example of a class, but not about the whole class. We'll see that in a moment. Or to relate to two different measures. In those cases, we use a or an to talk about an example of a class, but not about a whole class, or to relate to different measures. We'll find examples in the article in a moment. Then we use the with a singular countable noun, to talk in general about a whole class. We'll see that also in a moment. With a plural or uncountable noun plus of plus the phrase to generalize. And we use no article with certain nouns when we are talking about their main purpose, after expressions like amount, number of, kind of, sort of, okay? So that is what I'd like you guys to do. So give me a second. And send the rules in the camera focus to in the block. Okay, so that's what I'd like you guys to do. So we're going to do these two exercises. So first, in these cases, the very first thing I'd like you to do, guys, in the breakout rooms, I'd like you to go over the rules so you understand them, so you guys can have an overview of them. And if you say, oh, you know what, the E, I don't understand exactly what that means, so we can go over that. That's the first thing. The second thing would be to cover these extended rules. So these extended rules refer to these examples which are highlighted in blue and then have this number. So this 6, okay? So you have to match this 6 with this 6 extended rules, okay? So you do just a matching exercise there. And then you're going to complete the final part of a block using articles right here, okay? That is what we're gonna do, guys. Have you got any question about that? No?
No, teacher.
There we go. So that's essentially what we're gonna do, and that's how we're gonna conclude this session, hopefully. So you'll have around 10 minutes for doing this, and then we'll be back here just to make corrections if needed. So let me just open the rooms again. There we go, guys. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. Oh, give me a second, please, please, please. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. We need to recreate the rooms because there are lots of people. There we go, guys. Which one, guys, would go with F in that case? No guesses? I'm gonna help you with that one at least. So F in this case goes with 6, in this case, team. The whole sentence goes, and this is why we support a team. So in this case, we're talking about one example of a class, which is the example is one team, and the class is teams in general terms, the teams out there, right? But we are talking about just one example of the whole class. Remember, in this case, the class refers to the teams in general, but we are talking only about one, which is not determined, by the way, which is just a team, any regular team, okay? So F goes with 6. What about G, guys? G, which is to relate two different measures. Excuse me?
Number 2.
Number 2, once a week. Yep, in this case, we are referring to two different measures. The first one is once, and the second is week. So when for instance, once a week, twice a month, 3 times a month. You see, when you want to relate these two measures, that's exactly what they meant here. So yes, Valeria, that's right. In this case, it's the number 2. Then we have H and I that go with the article the. So the first one, H, with a singular countable noun to talk in general about a whole class. So that's H.
Number 1.
Number 1. So it says the football fan is a strange beast. So it says with a singular countable noun to talk in general about a whole class. So you see the football fan. So we are talking about football fans in general terms, right? And that's how we can use it in this case. And then with a plural or uncountable noun plus of plus the phrase to generalize. I, guys, I goes with which one here?
Number 3.
Number 3, that was easy because of the combination itself. The psychology of, and then we have the supporting the phrase, I'm sorry, at the end of that. That's how it goes. And then we have these 2 examples in which we don't use articles. So the first one, with certain nouns when we are talking about their main purpose. So that's J.
Number 5.
Number 5. And this is something to be careful with, guys. Because in Spanish, we do use the article. So we say in this case, we always use articles. We say en el trabajo, right? We say that all the time. In this case, we don't need that. So it's just at work. You say at the work or at the job or something like that. It's just at work. It is as simple as that. And key, which of course goes with for, which is after expressions like amount of, number of, kind of. So kind of attitude. In that case, we don't use articles. It is as simple as that. And then, guys, the last one, you simply had to complete this article. Give me a second. This article using the articles. You see, so yeah, that's what you guys had to do there. So let me have a look at that. Here we go. So, guys, let's try to read this. So this time no, we didn't have enough time. So I will read and I would like you just to help me complete, if that's okay with you. So this is how it goes. Of course, you can want
A player.
There we go, a player to win, just because they deserve to. When Usain Bolt ran in
D.
Non-article?
Ran in 2012 Olympics. Oh, that sounds like a possibility, although no, it's a the in this case, because we're talking about something determined, something specific. Although if you say, when Usain Bolt ran in 2012 Olympics, no, it's in the Olympics. We would always use the in that case, actually, yes. London Olympics. I wanted him to win simply so that, what would you say here, guys, in the number 3? So that in this case,
I will put it without article.
that is right. There is no need to put an article. I wanted him to win simply so that excellence will be rewarded. We don't say an excellence is clearly not the case, and so that the excellence is not necessary. So we can leave it just like that. That is right. We all love number 4. An, right? Because the next one starts with this vowel sound. An exciting start Although we might hate number 5 in that case. We might hate something we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. The business of number 6.
A.
The business of a sport? I don't think so. We might hate the business of sport. It is just like that, no article. We might hate the business of a sport. We don't mind. Again, no article, okay? In this case, we don't mind individual sports people earning more than 200,000 pounds. Number 8.
A week.
A week. This is a case of 2 measures, right? 200,000 pounds a week. But this sort of, number 9.
Without.
Without, yeah, it's like clear. But this sort of thinking is different from wanting your team to win or your children to prosper in
Without.
life. That is right, guys. So this is exactly how it goes. So guys, that's essentially it. That's essentially it. As you can see, this whole topic of articles, not a big deal. Tomorrow, we're going to be focusing on the second part of vocabulary. And then for most of the second part of the class tomorrow, we are going to focus on the project. That's essentially what we're going to do. So guys, I'm going to call the attendance really quick right now so we can dismiss this class. Give me a second as we open this. John. Okay, guys, so let's do this. So, Gerson Abril,
I'm here.
Tatiana Álvarez,
I'm here.
Laura Arias,
Present.
Laura Bermúdez,
Good morning, teacher.
Hello.
Present.
Ana María Buendía,
Your teacher.
Felipe Bueno,
I'm here.
Camila Ulla,
I'm here.
Erika Corredor,
I'm here.
Alexander Cortés,
I'm here.
Tatiana Spitia,
I'm here.
Valeria Fonegra,
Here, teacher.
Miguel Ángel Forero. Give me a second, guys. Espera. John González,
Here, teacher.
Melissa Goyes,
Present.
Ashley Huesa, Diego Llano,
Here, teacher.
Daniel
Teacher.
Machuca,
Hello, good morning.
Johanna Martínez,
Present.
Nicole Martínez, Nicolás Medina,
Present, teacher.
Clara Monroy,
Present, teacher.
Alexander Mutis,
Present, teacher.
Camila Navarro,
Present.
Magdalena Ojeda,
Present, teacher.
Dylan Páez,
Present, teacher.
Diana Palacios,
Here, teacher.
Lina Rodríguez,
Yes, present, teacher.
Natalia Rodríguez,
Here, teacher.
David Torres,
I'm here, teacher.
María Alejandra Triana,
Here, teacher.
hello, Lorena Olero,
I'm here.
Diana Baloyes.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay, there you go. So guys, once again, thank you very much for your time. A special thanks to all of you who participated very actively today. That's essentially Ana Maria, Andres Felipe, also Valeria, Miguel Angel, also Diego we had there, super active. Janet also participated a lot. That's something I have I keep in mind all the time, believe me. Also for the grading, some extra points out there. And Maria Alejandra also. And Diana, who made a couple of questions as well. Thank you for that. So guys, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, teacher.
See you,
Thank you.
teacher.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye, teacher.
Bye.